Hi, Candace. We are so excited to have you on today.
Thank you. I'm
So
happy to
tell
be here.
us where you are. Are you in LA right now?
No, I'm in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada, and I'm shooting my new Christmas movie right now. That'll be on Hallmark Channel on November 25th.
And what's that called?
It's called A Shoe Addict's Christmas.
Oh, so fun. And most of Hallmark is in Canada, right? Like they film in
Well,
Canada a lot.
we film the majority of the movies in Canada, but they're not all done in Canada. Some are done in the States, and they've done some elsewhere in exotic places as well. But yeah, some of the just the affordability and the tax breaks that we get, it kind of works out best. So that's why they shoot a lot of them in Canada.
Yeah, it's so great. Well, I follow When Calls the Heart. I
Uh-huh.
love that. And
Me
I know
too. I
that one.
love it.
And that's in Canada too. Okay, so how do you do this logistically? Do they have an apartment for you there that you're at on a regular basis? Like, how do you do the travel?
I'm in a hotel, so I'm here for 3 weeks shooting this, a little over 3 weeks, but no, I'm just a hotel hopper. I've learned to live out of a suitcase. I actually don't spend much time in the hotel because I'm working 16, 17 hours a day. So I basically come to sleep, and it's just part of my life. I'm used to it. And, but of course, the only other place that I actually had an apartment in was when I was on The View and in New York. I was commuting full time, commuting every week from LA to New York. So then I had an apartment in New York. But when I do these movies, even though I can be, because I have uh, on Hallmark Movies and Mysteries channel, I have my Aurora Tea Garden mystery series. And so I will be in Vancouver for virtually 4 months. And, but I still just live out of a hotel.
Yeah, Vancouver is an awesome place to be, though, if you have to be somewhere.
Yes, it's very beautiful. It rains a little too much for my liking, but
Yeah.
it's gorgeous, and the people are wonderful. All of Canada is wonderful. So I'm never unhappy being here.
Mm. Now, is your husband Canadian?
He's not. He's
Okay.
Russian.
Oh, so tell us about him and how you met, because I obviously only know a little bit about him and it has to do with his previous job. But how
Uh-huh.
did the two of you meet?
We met at a charity hockey game. I was 18. He was 20 years old. He was this really handsome, very blonde haired, blue eyed hockey player that had just come to North America. And he was playing in a charity game that I was invited to by a mutual friend. And we were introduced. And that was the cute thing about it is that he and his brother Pavel, who are very well-known hockey players, both retired right now, but NHL players, and they learned English by watching Full House when they came to North America.
Oh
So
my
he'd only
God.
been in the States for 2 years before he met me. And I was a big part of his uh, introduction to America, or North America, I should say. And it's a pretty cute story, but he asked me out on a date, and the very next day we went to lunch, and the rest is history. We've been married 22 years, and we have 3 kids, Natasha, 11, Max, who are 20, 18, and 16 years old. But um, it's been a wild ride.
Yeah,
So,
because you got married young, right?
Yeah, he was really my first boyfriend. So I was 18 when I met him, and I was married at 20. And then we started our family. I was 22 when I had Natasha.
so are you a dual language family? Did your kids learn two languages growing up?
No, unfortunately, they didn't. We tried, but I don't speak Russian. I tried to take lessons for about a year, and it was so difficult. At the time, we were living in, just to make more excuses for myself, we were living in Montreal. That's where he was playing for the Canadians. So it's a predominantly French speaking city. So I was trying to learn Russian from a French speaking Russian yes, the teacher only spoke French and Russian, no English. So it was very difficult, and I kind of gave up. But when you don't have two parents that speak the same language that they're trying to teach their children, that is very difficult. So 5 years into it, Val tried to only speak Russian to our kids. And then he's like, I'm over it. I'm not doing it anymore. I'm way too frustrated. And I couldn't help him because I didn't speak Russian. So unfortunately, my kids are not bilingual, and Val gave it his best effort, but couldn't hang.
So talk to us about what it's like, because you're in the middle of the letting go years of parenting. So what's that like for you? How's that going?
It's going really well. It's sad and heartbreaking at times. I feel like we don't talk about the letting go that much, or maybe it's not as exciting because when we're new parents, we talk so much about all the new stuff and the baby stuff and the toddler and even the tween, but not as much of the letting go. And I get it.
So
they're
true.
Young adults, but it's like, it's hard. It's hard. I mean, you do have some kids that you're like, yes, please go and do it. Like, I need you to leave the nest.
It's time.
But you've poured everything that you have into these people, and then you just have to let them fly. And it's like, it's really sad. So we are in the middle of that. I will probably be an empty nester within 2 years. And, but it's already started, that we have one that's out of the house now. But it's been wonderful. I have to tell you, as a mom, like the teen years really have been my favorite. And I don't hear as many people say that. I loved when they were younger, and there are a lot of days that I wish I could have a do-over with their younger years. But I think being such a young mom myself, I was frazzled, and as many of us are, but there is a difference if you're a mom in your 30s or 40s having your children versus having them in your early 20s. I was still trying to figure out who I was. So
Right.
it was the harder years were, the younger years were a little, it's just not that they were so hard, but I didn't have the ability to enjoy it as much because I didn't have the patience that I do now. And so I've loved the teen years because I feel like I'm in a relationship with these 3 people, and I get to help them and then hear their hearts and listen to their thoughts and opinions, and they give me perspective. And I just love the dialogue that we have. And there are lots of ups and downs in teen years, but man, they've been so enjoyable for me.
Well, that is encouraging, I think, for moms to hear. And it also sounds like you are letting go in the relationship, and that's part of what makes the relationship enjoyable, because you're not trying to control. You are moving from parent to peer, although probably it will never feel like peer, but you're allowing them to be their own people.
Agreed. I'm trying. Definitely trying my best. And I have loved seeing that development over the years. And that has been a lot of my mindset in my parenting, that it's not, I want to teach them everything I know and that's valuable, but in the effort that knowing that they're going to leave and take it away and hopefully gain from that, whether it's their confidence or their talent, their families, whatever. I just want to give them the best foundation and tools so that they will serve themselves well when they leave me. And so in that sense, I feel good about the parenting that I've done. Not that it's been perfect. It certainly hasn't. And there's lots of things that I could have wanted to do over, but I do feel confident because my perspective is always like, this is for you to take away, because I know you're not going to be with me forever.
Talk to us about some of the things you've done to create just family unity and family strength. Do you feel like, just open-ended question in that way. I mean, it could just be, late night talks or whatever, nothing like formal, but I think a lot of people see you as in what you do and as a really full-time working mom, but you also maintain this really amazing family and family dynamic. How have you done that intentionally?
Well, parenting has been so important for me and my husband. And so I give him so much credit because, of course, you know, every person in every marriage or relationship is different, but he is such a glue holder in our family, and family means as much to him as it does to me. So we have been so intentional about spending time with our children and doing everything that we can as a family and supporting one another. So if one child is doing something, the other kids are a part of it, whether they want to be or not. And sometimes they don't, but it's like, this is what family is. We support one another, and we've continually done that and made it a priority in our life. And at the same time, it's not about being a cool parent, so don't get me wrong, but I feel like we've given our children enough flexibility and understanding that we're always going to be a parent first, and we're always going to teach them, but their opinions and their thoughts and their dreams are never to be discounted, and they're not necessarily wrong even if they don't line up with ours. But hey, let's have a conversation about it and let's talk it through. So we've tried to create as much openness with our kids so that they feel comfortable and confident enough within themselves to be able to say, hey, mom and dad, like, I don't think that's right, or I don't agree with you. And it's like, okay, well, let's talk about it. And it's not about being right or wrong, but we've always wanted to have this open discussion. And I feel like that's created an environment for my kids that it's not that we're cool parents, but they want to be around us because we respect them as people. And it's not about who's right and who's wrong, and I'm going to rule over you because I'm your parent, and you're the child. But at the same time, yes, I'm going to parent you when something is absolutely not right or wrong, or I'm going to direct you morally, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, it's still your decision. So,
and that requires a lot of listening, which it sounds like you do a lot of.
We do. We try to. Sometimes I admit I do way too much talking. My kids are like, la, 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 fingers in the ears, going, Mom, you've repeated that 10 times. I'm like, well, I just want to make sure you know it.
Yeah. Well, this idea of confidence is reflected in your new children's book that is coming out. Can you talk to us about this book and why you decided to write it and why you decided on this message?
Well, it has always been a dream of mine to write a children's book for 20 years. This is my 7th published book, but it's my first children's book. And it's the first one I ever wanted to write. Not that I didn't want to write the other 6 that I did, but it's just, I am so giddy over writing a children's book. Has made me so happy. It truly is a dream come true in that sense. And so I wanted to just write fun stories for all children and their parents, grandparents, aunts and uncles, whoever, to read together, because it really was one of the most pleasures I took in as a mother was to read to my children when they were younger. I have loved books. I've loved illustrations. I've loved the world a book can create, and it helps our children use their imagination. And that's why I've always wanted to be a part of that, of the book world, and then writing specifically to children. And I think as parents, if you're maybe not a performer or as confident, it is a place that maybe your child could see a little different exposed part of you that maybe you wouldn't want to necessarily show your friends, or it's not as comfortable, but you can always do that with your child because your child's not going to judge you. A 4-year-old isn't going to say like, I mean, they might, but they're really, if you're just reading them a story and you use a silly voice or you act silly in the inflection of your reading, like it's something special. So even as a parent, you just get something out of reading with your children. And this book is about Candace. And, she's not necessarily me exactly, but a combination of parts of me in my childhood, but also the experiences that I have learned with my own children and as a mother. And she's a confident little girl that is a little strong-willed and yet she doesn't know everything that she thinks she knows so well. So this book is teaching her to work hard and not be afraid to try something new. But when the going gets rough, you keep working at it. And it's okay to fail. But at the end of the day, we're always going to be kind to one another and be confident and not let fear hold us back. So there's all these themes in this very simple, beautifully illustrated book. But I love it that she's really her own individual person. And yet there are times when we don't ever want to take that away from ourselves or take that away from our children. But at the same time, we might have to fit into a mold in the sense that we're taking a ballet class. So we have to all learn how to do it together. We need to learn how to work together. And we have to respect people that maybe have a different process in the way that they learn it. And even if it's hard, you're going to follow through till the end. And you don't have to be the best at everything, but you got to try. That's what the book's all about.
Well, it certainly is an engaging story, and the illustrations, as you said, are adorable. So for Christmas coming up, and any mom of girls and boys too would like this book. But
Sure.
As a mom of 4 girls, I thought it was just the most adorable thing ever. And I have a dancer in my house. So
oh, good.
the dancing portion of the story just really was very relatable. And I think you're right. It has these lessons that can be transferred to life. And so I'm excited for our listeners to get their hands on it.
Thank you. Me too.
Candace, this seems like this book takes all the themes of your life and it's all into a children's book. Like what I know about who you are and your story, like the things that you said, that's exactly how I see you and your journey. So that is amazing and so fun to get it in like a different way than your other books. I love that this is like a new medium.
You.
But I also think it just reflects who you are. And I would love to talk about the concept of doing hard things because that is something I see in you that I personally am very inspired by. I mean, you went on The View, which was a really hostile environment for someone who maintains some different views than the other hosts. You recently directed at Fuller House, and you just continue. You went on Dancing with the Stars, and those are all hard things. So my first question would be, how do you discern what to say yes to, and how do you kind of push through fear?
Well, I'm a really big dreamer. I have been dreaming my whole life, but writing it all down of the things I would love to do. And I know that as I've gotten older, especially, fears creep up because you get into your own habits, you know what works for you, you decide on what you think you can and can't do. So it gets harder to push through the fear the older you get. But I think I'm an adventurer to an extent because I really do love the thrill of a new challenge. But one of the biggest lessons I've learned in my life is to not be afraid to fail. I'm so grateful for that lesson. And it's just been a hard one to learn over the years. And it's only been because of time that I've been able to learn it. So knowing that having supportive people that have encouraged me and pushed me through my life has also been a really huge help and step in being able to, get out of my comfort zone. Mm-hmm. But because I've taken a few risks, and some have worked out really well, some haven't, it's shown me that I'm capable of more than I can really imagine. And yet I have all confidence too that if God is opening up different doors, I don't walk through every single one of them, because there's different measures that I will line it up against to see and discern whether that's an opportunity for me to take or walk through. And sometimes may not necessarily be a bad one, but maybe the timing or season of my life I feel is not right. So I'll close that door. Oh gosh, I hate when I start rambling and then I lose track of what I'm saying. I feel like senior moment. But I've had enough people, push me along the way, and then learn that I would so much rather take these risks and fail at it than never know what I'm capable of, or being able to go back into my prayer journal and mark a check like, oh my goodness, I've been praying about this for 10 years or 20 years. And like, God just brought this opportunity to me, and doesn't even matter if it works out. It's something I've dreamt about and I've prayed about, and here it is. I can do it, and I'm going to try it or go for it. And that to me is amazing. And it's not to say that God's a magical genie that makes our dreams come true. That's not what I'm talking about. But I love being able to put the focus back on him of like, God, you knew my heart. You've heard my prayers for so long. And the fact that you are opening a door right now, and it might look really scary because I prayed for that 10 years ago and I'm 10 years older and I'm just more scared about it now. I'm like, but you're just faithful in knowing that you hear me and you love me. And I want my life to be meaningful, and it's not just about the things that I do, but being able to bring it back to the glory of God. And just, I don't know, he's just so much bigger than I am. So if I'm not willing to take the risk, I don't think that I can see the totality of his greatness.
It's interesting. No, that's great. I was waiting to see if Alex was going to jump in, so I paused there. But so when you talk about that 10 years, I know you had 10 years where you kind of stepped away from your career, mm-hmm. and you focused on your family, and your husband was playing professional hockey at that time. And do you feel like that God has taken you into seasons of rest? And no, young parenting years is not rest, but in a different way. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
absolutely.
Just a time off from your career, and then taught you things in that time in order to kind of propel you into a different season that you're in now. How do you feel like that time shaped where you are, I guess is my question.
When I decided to put my career aside and be a full-time stay-at-home mom, which was at 22 years old, right when I had Natasha, that time was quite scary in that I've always had so many dreams and I've wanted to work. I love what I do for a living, but also knew that I wanted to stay at home and raise my children. And as hard as those years were, and coming to the point of surrendering to motherhood, I mean, that took several years just to surrender to motherhood. Like, this is what I want to do and feel okay. And that I was still a worthy person, even though I wasn't out working. I mean, there's so many different phases of that I could talk about, but I'll jump ahead in saying God literally molded me into the woman I am today and prepared me to where I'm at in the workplace by staying home, not only with my children, but really with him for those 10 years. And not that I'm not with him anymore. I'm here, like, God's with me every single day, but he just changed. And I I would not have spent the time with God that I did had I not put my career aside and decided to be a stay-at-home mom, because I could probably have always found accolades in my job. I could have depended on other people within my job. I could have always found someone else aside from God to keep pushing me career-wise. As a mother and family, there were days where God was the only one I could rely on, the only one I could talk to, the only one I could have a conversation with, the only one that I could find my heart, or even to be reprimanded in the most loving way as a woman or a wife or a mom or whatever I needed. And I never had that kind of relationship until I had the time to invest it in, which was during those years I decided to stop working and be a full-time stay-at-home mom. And so I know that once I decided to go back to work, I was a woman very much changed and had a completely different outlook going back into the work field, with eyes set on my work as a mission field, not about a long list of resume, credentials or awards or money. Not that those aren't all wonderful things. I'll tell you, I enjoy all of those things. And I'm super proud of those things. And I love providing for my family in that way, but that's not the goal.
Totally. Right. Totally. I mean, it's all in perspective, right? And really glorifying God and putting him first. And then whatever else comes is great, but as long as it's in that order, right? So talk to us about, so I feel like your voice in the world is really different and really unique. One of the things I think, when maybe a person doesn't feel like they hold similar viewpoints. Okay. So let's take the example of you on The View. Okay. Obviously you have really different viewpoints than the other hosts on there. A lot of people, they say, yes, I can be kind. I can sit in this and listen, but they then wouldn't have a voice in it. You know what I'm saying? How have you found your voice both in your work and in the world, and yet maintained this kindness and this gentleness and this patience in the midst of it?
Well, I really believe that kindness is practiced. And I think the more we practice it, the easier it is. I don't think that we, by nature, are kind people. I think some of us have softer, more pliable hearts. We're more sensitive than others. There are all of those things. But by nature, we're selfish people. That's our human condition. So kindness must be taught and then practiced, but it gets easy and easier the more that you do it. And it eventually really does become natural to each and every one of us. And so I can say that I am the way I am and respond the way I do because I've intentionally thought about it and continue to think about it and practice those decisions even when it's difficult. And I even talk about very simple steps in my book, Kind is the New Classy. Like, I will take a deep breath before I respond to someone, especially when it's heated. I need to take a minute. Sometimes I need to just pray right there. And I'm not talking about going into a corner and like leaving the situation to go pray, but to literally just, whether it's in my mind of saying, God, I need you to give me words right now and tell me and give me words to respond in a way that would be honoring and pleasing to you. And so that's all been practiced. And now I'm forgetting like I'm sorry. I'm like,
this is so great. You've had so many interviews today, Candace.
Sorry.
Okay, so we're talking about you finding your voice and being like utilizing your voice, but still maintaining kindness.
Yes. So again, right. It's still, the point of that was that you practice kindness and it becomes easier the more you do it. But being kind never means that that you're not strong. It doesn't mean that you have to sit back and take it, or you become a doormat, that you don't have a voice. You can be strong and kind and strong and respectful and strong and, sorry, I'm saying strong. You can be kind and strong and kind and respectful and kind and confident, and be kind and still know what you want and ask for it. Kindness doesn't mean that you have to be a pushover. And I've learned that too. And I know that, God says, ask and you shall receive. So I ask God. I ask God for whatever it is that I need. And it's not necessarily tangible things, but it's, God, I need patience. I'm asking for it. I need a kind word to give to this person. I need a softer heart because I'm angry right now. And I've learned to ask, and that God wants us to do that. And that can in turn become kind back to other people, and kindness has a ripple effect. But overall, in general, I want to be able to have conversations with people that are, I really want to hear other people. And like you said, it can be easy to listen to other people, but not be brave enough to use your voice. But I guess I've just tried over the years and continue to try to find that balance, and really being on The View gave me that opportunity because I had to speak up. I had no choice. That was my job.
Yeah.
But I never wanted to become angry. Passionate, yes. Angry, no. And I wanted to really hear other people and say, well, you know what, if I don't have that life experience, I want to listen to you so you can shed some light onto why I don't understand your point of view, or I have such a different point of view. And that may allow me to then have empathy or compassion for a circumstance or situation that I just don't understand, because that's not how I grew up, or that's not my reality of life. That's somebody else's. But I've just learned that it's a better way. I want the glass half full. I want to be positive, and I enjoy being around people who are. And if the person I'm around isn't that way, then I want to be the one who is. I always even tell my children this: if someone isn't kind to you, be the person you would have hoped they would have been to you. You be that person, because if not you, then who? And that's kind of what my outlook is. So we have to keep using our voice, but it never, ever has to be disrespectful.
And so part of that is controlling our own emotion in it, right? And really grabbing onto the fruit of the Spirit, right? Which is self-control and kindness and patience and gentleness, all of those things that we need when we are in a heated discussion. I mean, we have a hard enough time being at the dinner table in the hot seat, let alone on national TV like you were in the hot seat. And so I just think it is something we have to go into knowing that on our own, we're going to resort to the negative, right? So we have to be prayed up and really come with humility and ask God to give us those things in those moments, right? It's kind of that grace for the moment.
Yep.
So do you feel like you did that every day before the show?
I tried my best to. I mean, prayed up, yes. I would not leave my apartment without having been flat on my face on the floor praying to God. I would pray the armor of God every single morning. I mean, I still do, but that was so specific to me during that time on The View, because I genuinely felt like I needed like my battle gear on to go to work every day. As much as I truly genuinely love the people I work with, not only at the table, and I genuinely love them. And, but all the other people that were behind the scenes, all the producers, all the writers, I loved them. But that show in itself just felt like a war zone, because it didn't end at the show. It continued on through social media and news outlets taking every word that you said. And in my opinion, twisted a lot of them into what they wanted to write or how they wanted to portray me. And so it just felt like a daily fight. But yes, prayed up 100% and having continual talks throughout the day with God. Like, that's what I do. I get called out all the time from people. They're like, who are you talking to, Candace? Who are you talking to? Because I just talk to myself all the time, sometimes out loud. It's really embarrassing, but really I'm just talking to God. But then I'm like, oh yeah, people can see me.
I was doing that the other day and I'm like, okay, this couple probably thinks I'm crazy. I better go silent on this one. I was praying. I was literally like talking to God about something.
I also, being an actress, I have a lot of lines to learn. So sometimes a script is going through my head and sometimes I'm literally I'm sitting there, but I'm running over my lines. And my whole entire life, my children are always like, Mom, are you doing lines right now or talking to God? Like, which one? Because basically I'm just sitting there looking like a crazy person, mumbling out loud to myself, but they know it's one or the other.
That's cute. That's very unique to you, probably.
Yes.
Well, I will say, Candace, as someone who doesn't watch The View regularly, but I saw some of the backlash that you received and would watch clips and then how people responded to it. I think it was really inspiring to so many women around the country that you were speaking a message that was different than maybe other voices around the table that particular day, or just other voices that we hear culturally. Mm-hmm. And you did such a great job, I thought, of really articulating a different viewpoint with thoughtfulness and with kindness, and that you represented a segment of the population that maybe doesn't feel like they have a lot of people speaking on their behalf. And so I think a lot of our listeners would really identify as that. And so I'm just saying thank you on their behalf and on my behalf.
Thank you. I appreciate that very much.
You said something interesting, Candace. You talked about earlier in our interview, just a support system. And that's one thing we really cheer, like here on the Sisterhood, we're kind of all about, let's cheerlead each other. Let's support each other. Let's be for each other. Mm-hmm. And then you go and do amazing things, because we're going to be your like section behind you saying, go do this. You're awesome. And that's so much a part of the heart of the Open Door Sisterhood. And I'm wondering, is your extended family a part of that for you? Who are those people for you?
Yeah. So I mean, I have my core family, obviously, which my family includes my parents, who are incredibly supportive, and and people that I talk to every day that are, well, not every day, but really get to knowing that they have wisdom and people I can count on to speak truth in love to me. But then I also have a really great core group of friends that we are accountable to one another and speak wisdom into each other's lives and encouragement. And those are Bible study friends and my best friend, and, people that just, I know will be honest and truthful, but also not necessarily emotional, in the sense that if it's a hard truth, they will come from a good and right perspective, and not just based on feelings of the moment. Because it's sometimes really easy, especially as friends, we want to feel compassionate and understand the situation. But in that, there are often times when sometimes you just hear advice that we know isn't the right advice, because we want to have more sympathy than be truthful about what we could or should encourage our friends to do. And then I have such a great small group of people that I work with that I have been with for 20 years. So I know, especially in the entertainment industry, people are like, oh, I want to thank my managers and my agents. And it just sounds like such this obscure whatever. But I have found people that I've literally been working with for 20 years, because we trust one another and we really are a team. And I don't know that career-wise I would be where I am without them, because they are in the same way, those people behind the scenes that understand me and the bigger picture of things, and are willing to tell me like, it's okay, or take a break, or you don't need to do this. It's not worth it. We're not after the money or the recognition for you. We care about you first. And that's why those relationships have worked for so long, and I haven't needed to find other ones because they're the real deal people I work with.
I imagine that's rare in that industry.
It's very rare. And the coolest part is I so often hear from people that I work with that are other producers or press agents. They tell me so often, your people, and I'm sorry for the like a just obscure phrase of saying your people, but it's like, your people are so nice and so kind and so good at what they do. They represent you so well. And that is the best compliment I can hear, is that my team, we all regard one another with so much respect, and you want to hear that. Like, it makes me so proud to be a part of them.
That's awesome. Okay. So I do want to hear about this 50 push-ups a day thing. We can't end the interview without talking about that, because this is awesome. And I'm joining you from this point forward. So
Yay,
talk to us
really?
about that.
That is so fantastic. That's exciting. Well, I love working out and I love fitness. And so I have a trainer, Kira Stokes. She's in New York. I don't really get to train with her in person very often anymore, but we talk almost every day and sometimes FaceTime train. But we started in January of this year, 2018, to do 50 push-ups a day. And if you do that for 360 days, you will have done 18,000 push-ups in 2018. So we're like, that's just fun numbers, something fun to do. It strengthens us. It keeps us healthy. You can do it anywhere. All you need is the floor or a table if you can't do them on the floor. You know what I mean? You can do push-ups in a variety of different ways, but we just thought it was a fun little challenge. So we have the Candace and Kira 18K push-up challenge.
I love it. It's so awesome.
Yeah.
How do you make time for exercise, and what do you do for exercise?
I know how much exercise how much better it makes me feel. So it's really become, it's a priority in my life. So I make time because it's important to me. It also is incredibly important for my mental health. So more than the physical of my body and staying lean or in shape, and athletic, which I really do love those things, but I've actually found that I love them much later in my life. I didn't really love them as a teen or even in my 20s. I didn't really start enjoying fitness until my 30s. But from a mental health aspect, it is my biggest stress reliever. And I know that sometimes I can't get through my day unless I get all that. I'm shaking my hands over my head right now. Yeah, the endorphins, but like all the crazy out of my head.
Oh, the crazy out. Yeah.
Like I need the crazy out. And it really is what exercise does, releasing the endorphins, but it can give you a calmness. So I've learned that instead of going to whatever other coping mechanisms that some people can go to, exercise is what helps me the best. And I can do that anywhere. So anyway, it's just become important for many, many reasons. And I enjoy it because I feel better when I do that. And so my workouts, everything, it's very different depending on where I'm working and what my schedule is. So there's nothing consistent about it, except for the sense that I do it. Yep. But it looks different almost every day, certainly every week and every month. Because if I'm shooting Fuller House, then I'm living at home in LA. I'm working at Warner Brothers Studios. I have a great gym to go work out in, and I can do all kinds of strength training, weight training, cardio, all of that. I can take classes. I like taking Pilates and spin classes, and and bar classes. And I like being around other people. That motivates me too. I love having a buddy to work out with. And if I don't have a buddy, I still go out and do it. And that's where classes come in. But when I'm on the road, like I am now, there is a gym at the hotel, but it's very small. So I bring my own equipment that I know is the basics. So I have my jump rope with me. I have some of my small stretchy bands that if you follow me on Instagram or Facebook, I've posted those videos, but they're little, they cost $2 for these stretchy bands, and I can get an incredible workout from them right in my hotel room. And I always talk about working in my workout. It's not about working out, it's about working it in. So even if it's 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there, I do I promise you it's not obsessive. It's the way I work it in, because I don't have time to work out while I'm shooting these movies. I'm working 16 to 17 hour days every day. And so I can't even I'm too exhausted to have 30 minutes or an hour at the gym. So every morning, shooting this movie while I'm brushing my teeth, and I have an electronic toothbrush that brushes for 2 minutes. So for 2 minutes, I'm doing squats.
Awesome.
I'm working it in. There's that. And then it's like, I get my 10 little push-ups here, 10 push-ups there. And that's maybe what I do for the whole day. And that might last 1 month of that kind of exercise plan, but that's how I worked it in. And then when I have the time and can go for an hour at the gym, I will. But anyway,
that's awesome.
I like to do it.
I love it. And I subscribe to the motto that something is better than nothing.
Yes.
So that fits with one of my life mottos there. That's good.
Yep. And let me say this though, because as much as I love it, and I'm an encourager of health and fitness and taking care of your body, I have so many moms that ask me, they're like, well, how did you do it when your kids are little and I don't have time and it's so hard? And I'm like, if you have littles at home, I'm like, don't worry about working out. Go walk with your baby, take your baby in the stroller, go walk, go to the park, go down the slides with them. I'm like, get activity in with your children, but please, like, don't worry about getting an hour in at the gym unless that is that important to you. By all means, please do it. But like, don't let just the media or you looking at some other mom. I'm like, I'm 42 and I have grown children that drive. Okay.
Right.
So I'm like, I'm not worrying about putting them in a daycare or finding a babysitter so that I can go work out. Just remember what season of life you're in, and that's okay. Your fitness doesn't have to be your priority when you have littles. Invest your time in your littles.
That is a good word, Candace.
It's
such a
very, very encouraging, I think. Yeah.
Okay, well, we're going to end our interview on just a few fun questions that we want to know about you. So, Candace, what are some things you could not live without?
I've said this before, but my microbladed eyebrows.
Okay, talk to us about that.
Okay, so I don't have many eyebrows. I don't have many hairs on my eyebrows, and it's not because I overpluck them. I am really a blonde, and I have very thin, almost non-existent eyebrows. So I would have to paint them on basically every morning. And now I got them microbladed, which it lasts about a year, and it's like semi-permanent. They draw in little eyebrows,
but it's not tattooed.
Right. It's like a semi-permanent form, like a tattoo in the sense, but it's like a little blade that they use. And then there is ink on it. So it has like saved my life, and I won't live without this forever and ever, because it saves me time in the morning because I don't have to paint eyebrows on, because I don't feel like a human being without my eyebrows.
Right.
So like, I love this. And, what else could I not live without? I feel like there's a million things, but I don't know. I couldn't live without my like rosebud chapstick, because I just need my lips to always be moist.
What's a rosebud chapstick? Is it just? Or
I know chapstick's actually a brand. It's rosebud lip balm or salve, but it's
okay.
It's in the little tin, like a little
blue
flat
one?
round tin. Yes, but I love
Yes.
that stuff.
Okay.
And it just feels pretty to open it up and put, I just like it, but I need moist lips.
I love it. Okay, what about a family tradition? Favorite family tradition?
So we go to the farmer's market every Sunday as long as we're in town, but we've been doing that with our kids, and we go for breakfast before church since they were born. So the same farmer's market in Santa Monica for 20 years. And I actually recently had posted a picture. I have them when my kids were probably 2, 4, and 6, or 3, 5, and 7, something like that, sitting, and then took a picture of them just this last year. They kind of recreated the photo. It's sitting at the same spot, but that's how long we've been going there. And it probably is one of my favorite family traditions, because that's just what we do, and go have breakfast at the farmer's market and gather our groceries for that day of what Sunday's just always been a big family day for us. And my husband is an incredible chef and cooks so well. So we get all the food for the day, and then whatever friends and family are going to come over. Sometimes people don't come over on Sunday, but that's like always our stay at home. And it starts with the farmer's market.
Oh, that's so great. And the teenagers actually get up for it.
Yes. Well, it's good food. They want the breakfast. I have 2 growing boys. You can tempt them with, food wins always.
That's a great point. That's a good point, Candace.
Yeah.
Okay. What
if
about
you want your teen? That's like good mom advice. If you want your teens to like you and their friends to like you, be the mom to always have a full fridge, or go buy whatever food they want. Like, pay for the hockey team or the football team or the baseball team or the cheerleading squad or whatever it is. Just be like, oh, food at my house, food at my house. I tell you, teenagers will run to your house.
Uh-huh. That is just words of wisdom spoken right here. Yeah. Okay, last question, and this goes along with the farmer's market and food. Favorite family recipe, or just a couple that you love?
Well, see, we have a favorite recipe, but I can't share it.
Right. Okay, I get that.
It's a secret family one.
Just mention it, though. Mention what it is.
It's my mom's. They're my mom's chocolate chip lace cookies.
Oh.
And there are only 4 of us in the family that make them. So my mom still makes them quite often. She actually brings them every other week to Fuller House. She bakes them for the entire crew and cast, she did for Full House when I was on it back in the day, and she did it for my brother's show Growing Pains back in the day. And now that we're on Fuller House, my mom is still baking the cookies, but it went down to every other week because she's like, I'm just too tired to bake them every week. She had said, I'm going to bake them once a month. And I was like, Mom, do not come to my show if you don't show up with cookies. Like, I threatened her. I was like, you can't. This is wrong. I will, every other week, Mom, but not once a month. I can't handle that.
That is the cutest. I love that.
Yeah, she's so cute, and it's so awesome she does those. But I also bake those cookies, and my kids love them. And then I would say that the other, I guess, family recipe, which is kind of really cool, but we have a pizza oven in our backyard because my husband's a really good chef, and so we make pizzas by scratch and cook them in that oven, but they're just yummy and kind of those gourmet, and it's whatever you want it to be. But one of our favorites as a family, because my husband's Russian, and this is actually more Georgian, but it's called hachapuri. And it's bread with an egg, like almost a very soft yolk inside, and cheese all around. So you kind of tear off the bread and then dip it into that egg with the cheese. So we will make this hachapuri in our pizza oven, or kind of like a pizza, but oh my goodness, it's so good. My kids go crazy over it.
And that's, what is that? A breakfast, lunch, or dinner?
Pretty much. I don't know in the Russian culture or Georgian culture which one they eat it more for, but I've certainly had it at dinner time. But egg and bread and cheese, that's in any time of the day. Doesn't matter what time of day, you can eat that.
So great. Well, Candace, this has been absolutely delightful to have you on today. Thank you so much. It's an honor.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thanks for having me. And thanks for not caring what I look like today either.
You are beautiful inside and out. And truly, I mean, we mean that from the bottom of our hearts.
Oh,
You are a
thank you.
beautiful woman who is reflecting Christ in the world. And we're all cheering you on. So keep
I
going.
appreciate it. Thank you. You guys were lovely. This was really fun. So
Okay. Bye, Candace.
bye. Have a great day.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.